Welcome back to Making Money Matter, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kerry Stevenson. I've got the famous Tony Locantro, Truth Bomb Tony. He's back again. And I do apologize to those of you that have said, where's Tony? Tony's been around. I've been away. I've been a little bit busy. I was down at the RIU conference in Sydney, which was fabulous. I think it was 96 companies in 3 days. It was insane. Tony, you were there for one day. I don't know how you got round them all, but there we go. You probably didn't. We'll talk about that. And I guess why people get value out of things like the Vertical Events Conference and also our Gold Conference coming up. But here's a bit of fun fact for you, Tony.
Mm-hmm.
On the 19th of May in 2012, it was the Facebook IPO. The Facebook IPO in 2012. And they raised 16, wait for a B for billion, 16 billion at 38 US dollars a share. Now, came onto the market, dropped to $18 a share. What do you reckon? I'm throwing this at you, so you might not know this, but what do you think Facebook shares are worth today?
Oh, it'd be called Meta. I don't know if they've had any consolidations, but what, a few $100s?
Yep, 640 US dollars. So if you put a grand in back then, you'd be doing all right, which I guess for some people should be a lesson in sometimes just because something drops doesn't mean that it's game over. So Facebook on for 38, dropped to 18. It's still around. So look for good companies, run well. I'm not saying that Facebook and Meta, or now it's called Meta, is necessarily run well. I know that I'm probably going to get a bit of pushback on that. I'm just saying that sometimes you have to be patience, grasshopper. But Tony, welcome back.
Yeah. Well, who would have thought Zuckerberg, he was making the site to rate chicks.
I,
That's the story. You remember, I don't know if you remember Hot or Not, where Hot or Not was this infamous site where you used to go through and rate members of the opposite sex.
terrible shot.
That's what Zuckerberg was doing. So it's amazing what can a bit of a sliding door moment. Amazing shit. But I guess I have a saying to hold from $38 to 600 and change. Sometimes you either have to be in a prison or in a coma to hold stock that long because with this information technology, social media, there's just too much information. There's too much negativity that we dwell on that stops us from holding stocks.
But
And
some stocks we should continue to hold. Like, for example, the big banks here in Australia that pay a good dividend. That's kind of a buy some and throw it in the bottom drawer. And then when you come to retire, you're going to get that dividend twice a year. Wouldn't that be a good one that's set and forget? Or do you, Tony, never set and forget?
boomers in the Combank have smashed it, just like their houses. But let's
And
be
I'm a boomer.
realistic. Let's be realistic. Commonwealth Bank is the most expensive bank on the planet.
Yes, it is.
Everyone's probably got a sell on it, but the bugger keeps going. But at some point, that music's going to stop. So there's a saying: there's been no greater wealth destruction than in the search for yield.
Mm.
And I hear clients talk about stocks they're up 1,000% on, and they're holding for the bloody dividend. Like, why the
Mhm.
hell are you there when you can lose 30, 40, 50% of your money for 5% dividend, which you can get in a friggin' term deposit? So I
Good point.
think I think the boomers that have been blessed with the greatest asset bubble of all time should actually sit down and work out where they're at and look at some other ways to find yield.
All right. Well,
And
let's look at some of those other ways to find yield. What is Tony looking at?
well, you can start with cash, term deposit. Even though the RBA cut a quarter, you can look at that. At some point, Telstra has been disappointing, but at some point that'll break out. You can look at some utilities and ETFs, even if you must go that route. But I tell you what, Kerry, I don't do boring. I'm here to work through lotto dreams. I have a saying, we're chasing the lotto dream, drowning in dopamine. And that's exactly what I'm doing for people. And
I've got to
this is
write that down. That's too good. What is it? Chasing the lotto dream.
drowning in dopamine. That's what I'm doing on a daily basis. And I've got to put up with fear, greed, and stupidity. But the good thing about stupidity, Kerry, is it's infinite. And if you look at all the lessons in history, uh, people haven't learnt from. I think stock market started in the 1600s.
Yep.
There's People haven't learnt a bloody thing since then. Got to look at all these scams going on. You got to look at overpriced stocks. I just think right now, FOMO's making a comeback.
Yep.
Greed's making a comeback. And I'm starting to notice that my clients are again disrespecting money.
What do you mean
And
by that? I don't
well,
disrespect money. I love money, and I do not disrespect
well,
one bit.
they're getting complacent. I mean, we've had it tough, but I mentioned in an email that we've played Saturn Metals like a Stradivarius. Everyone won, and we could sell and get back at the low price because Ian Bamborough, bless him, gave everyone 100% of their entitlement.
Mm.
And then you can switch. We had Dimerics did a huge US licensing deal that went into the 70s. Again, it's it's like baby brain. They say women go silly with baby brain. Speculators go crazy with bull market brain. You
Okay.
get all this high level confidence, and when you're in a bear market, you can't see any light. And now's the time where we're loading up on paper. We've got shit ton of options everywhere. We've got all these cheap placements, and this is where the real money is made right now. There's been plenty of stocks trading under a cent that have gone into the 30s. Plenty
Wow.
of gold, plenty of 5 cent gold stocks that have gone to multiple dollars. Don't talk about Northern Star because unfortunately I didn't put any of them away.
Neither did
But
I.
it's a people game. It's absolutely to do with personalities, it's emotions. When times are good, everyone's sitting there by the campfire, holding hands, singing acoustic songs, and then suddenly there's a bloody riot.
Yeah.
And, but what I found was actually at that conference we were at, Kerry, is that the retail investor, which leads to dumb money, is nowhere near the market at the moment.
No.
All the people I saw there, I've seen for 20 years at conferences. I sat down at the table to watch a presentation, and then this young couple are staring at me, and they're massive fans, and I think they're a little bit starstruck. And in the end, the young lady, bless her, I said, "Look, you've got to chill. You've just got to calm down." I said, "You're going to end up with too many stocks. You're going to end up with it'll be like a dog shelter.
But
Too many dogs."
she just liked everything that was put in front of her.
Well, a lot of these conferences, it's like going to a South American swimsuit parade, and you got to try and pick the one that can cook roast potatoes or hold a conversation. Because at conferences, almost every stock looks attractive. They pay money to get up and make themselves look attractive.
Okay, so
And
how does Tony look at all those? Because I know you were there. And as I
oh,
said right
there.
at the start of this, there were over 90 companies presenting there.
Mhm.
I mean, my brain went into mush after a while because you just can't take it all in. But give us a couple of tips of how people can uh, pick the beauty out of the beauty parade.
Well, you got to look at which sectors toast, okay, for a
Okay.
start. Uh, Lithium isn't going to do a Danny Green or a John Farnham. All right, it might come back, but the sector had a couple of cracks.
Yeah.
Now you got to look. I'm a bit of a forward thinker. So apart from eventually they'll add Imodium to the periodic table, but there's going to be something else ending in IUM, Kerry. And at the moment, that was a bit of gallium. I like rubidium, which is used in military applications.
Mhm.
There you go. That's one. But I also look at management structure. I actually walked around that conference. One thing I do admit to, is I steal hats. Well,
You're one of them.
no, I got some hats, but
So long
the
as you
two.
don't steal the food, that's my big thing. Don't steal the food. There's plenty of food for everybody, but you can, And by the way, Tony, I don't think you stole the hats. I think you went around and collected the
Well,
hats.
they're there. They're there. So I've actually got probably about 12 red medal hats. Uh, a pack gold. I took a couple of pack gold hats. I actually take photos of the booze where I really like the stock.
Okay.
But again, you look at the presentations, you look past the salesman. Salesmen are great to get involved with as long as the price isn't too high. You just don't want to be 13th man on the deal team. So I've already got my targets worked out. And it's a case of you get to know the smart people. There was, I don't know, you probably know a guy called Arnie.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
oh, yeah. The
Everybody knows
guys,
Arnie. Arnie, if you're watching this, I'm sorry I didn't say hello. It was a bit of a busy event.
yeah.
I did see Arnie.
But, we have a joke about his accent and all of that, bada bing, bada boom, and he's a real wise guy. But that guy, or I don't know, he must be at 120 by now.
Oh, stop it.
He is one of the smartest speculators on the market, and
Yeah.
I love talking to Arnie. I'm not going to give away his surname
No.
because I think he's on a few top 20s.
Yeah.
But again, you got to look at which booths he's hanging at.
Oh,
I know people follow me around like a lost puppy, but I'm not going to give too much away these days.
okay.
But I tell you what, Kerry, the male pattern baldness index is still way too high.
Yeah.
There's no youth at these events. There's no Botox. Uh, there's no gold diggers. The hot women looking for rich husbands closer to heaven than what we are. There's none of that shit yet. So these conferences are great. They're great. And I'm going to be I don't think I can make your goal one, but I heard that the vibe at the Gold Coast, your Gold Coast conference was amazing.
It
And
was actually, and there wasn't that much male pattern baldness. We did have we had lots of people that we'd never seen their faces before. So it was really, really good. So we're doing it again next March, ladies and gentlemen. But before that, we'll be doing October in Sydney. But go ahead, Tony.
I just think people just get there. Some of the dishes at these conferences is great. The food, go for the free food. They
No,
even have
don't go for the free food, ladies and gentlemen. Go for the
no,
education. Do not
minimum
listen to what
chips,
Tony's
minimum
saying.
chips. Even that they had a fridge there with Pellegrino mineral water, for
Yeah,
Christ's sake.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, it's hard because I don't drink anymore. All I wanted was a non-alcoholic drink, but anyway.
Well, there
But
was
yeah,
plenty of it. The Pellegrino was in.
that I
all
found
over.
that fridge, thank God. But get to these conferences, talk to people, work out the vibe. The vibe, I think, is still, I don't think it's pessimistic, but we're a long way from the dumb money. And we've seen it with all these exotic commodities ending in IUM. Dumb money can go on forever. And that's what makes the smart money doubt themselves. So
Yeah,
it,
for me, I think Tony right now, and I am known as that gold lady, so clearly I am going to talk precious metals. But I'm looking around the world at the moment at governments everywhere here, the US, China, doesn't matter where you are, they are printing currency like drunken sailors. And the more currency you put into the market, less value it has. You can't print gold, you can't print silver. And I think that that's true money. And because we're talking more about stocks at the moment, there's still a disconnect between the gold mining stocks. In fact, I'm about to put up a little a short about the different ways to hold precious metals. But we we had a bit of a pullback in the gold and the silver prices, and people started to say, I think even Barry Dawes was saying, oh, that's it, gold's going to go below 3,000. Well, today it's back over 5,000 Aussie and 3,300 US. So there's a disconnect. I'd love to hear your views. There's a disconnect between that strong gold price of 5,000 Aussie, in fact, 5,142 as we speak today, versus some of these gold stocks, whether they be explorers, developers, or producers. What's your view? And is it time that people started to sit up and pay attention?
Oh, it's the biggest disconnect. The last major gold silver stock bubble was in 1978 to 1980. These valuations, and that's why you're starting to see corporate activity.
Mm-hmm.
And it's much cheaper to buy ounces than try and find them and go through all that environmental bullshit. And what you're going to see is you'll see a creation of the mid tiers. You'll start to see juniors merge. They'll create the mid tier. I remember at your Luna Park conference, I think it was 2012.
Correct.
Jake Klein stood up and spoke about the renaissance of the Australian mid-cap gold sector.
He did.
And he was absolutely spot on. And I'll never forget that moment because there was a ferry went past and it was called Sirius, which, only 5 cents to $5, that one.
Yeah, I remember that.
But once there's gold fever, we're nowhere near it at the moment. Once someone makes a big discovery, and then you get neurology, which means anyone within 500 kilometers goes up, it's game on. And we have not seen small cap FOMO for some time, and it could come to any sector. But I think that many sectors have burnt speculators that let's just have a good old fashioned gold and silver stock bubble and may the smartest traders win. Let's just get it out of the way.
Yeah, and it's interesting, big shout out to Simon Lawson, who is the guy that took what was Gascoigne Resources, turned it into Spartan Resources, took it from a few hundred or 100, not even 100 mil market cap, right up to over $1 billion. Massive kudos to Simon. What did he do? He actually turned around to me and he said, what? I asked my geologist, where do you want to drill? So instead of, he was talking and getting the team together, and boy, what a turnaround. That has now been a takeover target for Ramelius.
Yeah.
And the smart money will just go, where's he going next? Now I know where he's going next. You know where he's going next, but we will leave that for another time.
Well, it's related to the toys seated behind me, actually.
Yeah.
Well, maybe in some way. Maybe I don't know. They've got they share some genes.
Yeah.
There, but
one or two.
But 11 cents to over $2 in no time.
Less than 2 years.
Yeah, and the funny thing was their tax losses were worth double the market cap, and they had cash and a plan. It was. This is where I'm going to make an admission, because I spotted Dominion Mining years ago, and it felt like another Dominion Mining. I put that in writing. But did I back myself as hard as I should have? No, because I thought, what's the freaking catch here? And there wasn't a catch. Mind you, a couple of high-grade gold discoveries, it's like a crunchy. It'll change the color of your day. But I just hope that the people that made a lot of money on that listened, don't blow it on hookers and drugs. You just stay level-headed. Put some aside for the ATO, and get ready to go again. But I mean, I've been talking to clients who went full throttle into Saturn, and I said, well, if Ian can deliver, if this heap leach works, you only really need this stock. That's it.
Wow.
But you've got to maybe convert some of your shares to SRN and put them in a friggin' coffee can. That's the coffee can approach.
What do you mean by that? Convert them to an SRN and put them in a coffee can? Some people go, what? What does he mean by that?
Yeah. It all stems from a book called 100 Baggers.
Oh, yep.
American book, brilliant book. I highly recommend it. And it actually talks about monster beverages 100 bagged in about 7 years. You know that company that sells all those shit energy drinks?
Mhm.
100 bagged.
Wow.
You know,
Well, there's
it
another one out there called and I'm not sure it's been an IPO. Oh, what's it called? Liquid Death. Liquid Death. The guy started the company in 2019 because what he wanted to do was think of something which everybody needed, and he was just going to change the way it was presented and marketed. Liquid Death is water in a can. That's all it is. It's water, sparkling or still, in a can. And that company is now worth, wait for it, over $2 billion. Water in a can.
well, there's proof.
Yeah.
Human stupidity's infinite.
Yeah, that's very true.
Absolutely. So what I mean by the coffee can approach
Yep.
is that you don't sit there staring at these stocks all day, every day. You have a set date. Now, converting stock to SRN means that it's on a piece of paper. It's not going to show up on your holdings with your broker, and then you actually have to make more effort to sell the bloody stock, and you have to quote your SRN. So, and you might say own 100,000 shares in Saturn, and you might think, okay, I'll give them 2 years to grow the company. Then every year for the next 5, I'm going to sell 20,000 shares a year. And you pull your holder statement out of the coffee can. And that was the American book. Oh, maybe a Milo tin in Australia.
I think that's really, really good advice. So what you're saying is make it a little bit hard for you to 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 push the button. You're going
Yeah.
to convert it away from your broker, your online, buy, sell, easy to do. Put
Yeah,
it
make
into,
it hard to sell.
make it hard to sell, leave it alone, put it in the bottom of the drawer. And
But it takes discipline, it takes balls. Obviously, if they get taken out, you fucking smash that can open.
yeah,
If they find Lassiter's Reef and go to a few bucks, you can have a get out clause, but you can't do that with every stock, Kerry. So
no, you would not want to do that with every stock, but you would want to do it for, it was like there was one I had, I can't even remember the name of it, but Ian Levy was doing at the time, and I think I had it in an SRN, and there was a takeover, and I missed it because I was anyway, whatever. I ended up looking like a genius because instead of selling at $5, I ended up having to sell it at $10.25.
wow.
And that was the coffee can approach. And it wasn't deliberate. It was just, I was a bit naive at that stage.
Yeah, well, I completely fucked up in my million
Technical
dollars.
term, ladies and gentlemen.
My $1 million mistake was Exafarm,
I,
and I was thinking that approach might work, but loyalty and yeah, whatever. Oh, that's $1 million lesson. But next, I've still don't cry for me, Argentina. I still did well out of it, but I got that $1 million lesson at the end. And I think sometimes your best trading tool is your backside, doing nothing.
yeah,
You don't have to trade all day, every day. You only need a Saturn Metals. You only need a Rob Rutherford at Red Metal to finally break out of this river dance they've been doing. They've been dancing sideways forever.
I know.
Okay?
Yeah.
Stocks is boring at the moment, but as I said in that email to clients, the worst emotion you can develop in the stock market is boredom.
Mm.
And sell a stock on board.
Right.
No,
Right. Yeah. Well,
no.
actually, Rick Rule says that often, Tony. He says the biggest issue that a lot of people have when they're looking at stocks is patience.
Yep.
He bought into Paladin, rode it all the way down to a cent, and then rode it all the way back up to $10. But that did not happen in a 6-month period. It took a lot of time. But as he said, the original project was still the same project that he invested in the first place. But a lot of people don't do it that way. They go to the barbecue mafia and someone says, buy this stock, and they've got no idea what they're doing. So do your research, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't want to do your research, then become a client of Tony's. And I'm not advocating that necessarily, but I'm just saying he can do the work for you, or do it yourself. But don't go into the markets with just a sort of a lazy girl boy approach, which is just throwing money into the wind. That's not the way to do it. So last comments to you, Tony. Last bit of advice at the moment. Are you saying that we're coming in, the dumb money isn't in yet, so we're still getting started?
Greedy's back, baby. It's going to take some time, but once my clients start to feel confident, once they're starting to rotate a bit of money now, we've had a couple of wins. We've done it tough, but we're now as full as a state school in some of these stocks. And once they start to run, it's game on. And my job during the next bull market is to try and guide every client through it and make sure they don't implode, because it can be like an addiction to gambling.
Yeah.
You can just want to buy everything. FOMO is a dangerous thing. Sometimes, the quick buck artists, come and go in every bull market, but the steady players make it through the bear markets, and that I stole that from Wall Street. I will say this though, if you're after the odd email from me, go to tonylocantro.com. I do have an email list where I wrote an email yesterday on a few philosophical things about, Adam Selwood's suicide, and I actually knew Adam, played paddle against him, just couldn't sense anything at all, I guess. And I think from a mental health perspective, small cap stocks, a lot of people shouldn't be anywhere near it, because to get these 5-10 baggers, geez, you gotta do the Andy Dufresne, and that's crawl through a lot of shit. Even though in the movie Shawshank it was chocolate syrup. So, anyway, may the best traders win, may the best disciplined people win, and may the good people win.
I love that. And also, ladies and gentlemen, it's a very salutary lesson. Please look after yourselves first and foremost. Money is not everything, but family, health, mental health, and wellness are also really, really important. So look after yourselves. And if you like this, please hit the like and subscribe, share with others as I continue to deliver good content for you, our beautiful audience out there. And don't forget, the Australian Gold Conference will be on between the 13th to the 15th of October at Crown Sydney, followed by the following week, we will be IMARC also in Sydney. So a busy October. In the meantime, here on the Gold Coast on the 26th and 27th of June, we will have another vertical events, Gold Coast Investment Showcase. So if you haven't yet subscribed on our website, goldevents.com.au, once you subscribe, I will bring you updates on all the events that are coming up. Noosa in July, Gold Coast in June, and the Gold Conference in October, as well as IMARC. So for now, thanks for watching. And Tony, thanks so much for joining me today.
I'll be back soon. Thanks, Kerry.